Sometimes, Cover Killer Nation, metal can be a family affair. There is a patriarch, or should I say a family of metal out there that we talk about every so often here on the Cover Killer Nation channel. Greetings, everyone. It's a wonderful day for metal, and it's a wonderful day for all of you, and it's a wonderful day for Soulfly fans, because finally, after you guys have lobbied and lobbied for me to cover the album that I'm about to cover, well, Cover Killer Nation is covering it. There's many instances of the word cover in that past sentence, perhaps too many. However, who's going to be the one to judge? Enslaved by Soulfly. Now, if you guys are unfamiliar of Soulfly, this is a band that formed out of the ashes of Max Cavalera's departure from Sepultura, which occurred in the latter part of the 1990s. Now, this is an album that originally was focused on elements of spirituality in music, which was chronicled somewhat in the heaviness, but yet at the same time kind of tribal nature of their debut album, and have continued to build and add themes onto them as the band has progressed. They have put out roughly about 8 albums to this point, and have employed a cavalcade of the metal elite in order to kind of give the songs a little bit more of a push to them and things like that. Now, with the release of Enslaved, we have yet another 11-track affair by Max and the Boys, unless you get the deluxe edition, which is going to contain 3 additional songs, including Soulfly Part 8, which is the ongoing instrumental mainly series that Max puts out a song of on each record, kind of like what Overkill did with their first couple of songs, or with their first couple of records rather, and later was able to rehash in the 2010s with Relics 15, I believe, or Relics 14. At any rate, the point of this record and the theme of this record, and it's right even in the title of the record, is slavery. It is kind of almost a historical aspect, considering it's not something where he is simply making some sort of point toward what's happening in today's society. He's gone back all the way to the Roman Empire and things like that with song titles such as Gladiator in order to really push forth this this concept onto the listeners and kind of make them understand that it is the theme that is kind of being discovered and is being explored here. And so he definitely had a theme in mind whenever writing this album. Also, this is a very heavy affair. This is probably one of the heaviest albums that I've heard from the Soulfly band from this side of Max Cavalera ever since he branched off and started this project. This is definitely a brutal release. It still maintains that thrash and groove side that Soulfly have been able to maintain as part of their doctrine ever since their original inception. However, they have added just a lot of heaviness to this record, and the vocals have now pushed them into another piece of territory, and that is the territory of death metal. There are many guests on this record. There are guests from Static X, from Cattle Decapitation, and Max's 3 sons as well are also featured on a track on this album entitled Revengeance, which is extremely good. In fact, this whole entire album maintains a very sharp consistency to it. This is an album that does not start wavering, so to speak, as I've spoke about a couple of other albums perhaps in the past month. This is not one that wavers. Instead, it launches into the brutality, even with the very short, less than 2-minute long introductory track number 1, and then immediately you are launched into this realm, and you are transformed into these areas or arenas where slaves exist and have to undergo arduous tortures, their lives forever changed. This is a record that articulately really shows their rage. It shows what they have to, what they're feeling on the inside. It is the absolute insanity, the anger that they feel, and just how it really affects their entire mental capacities. You hear screams of Caesar on the track Gladiator, which really show and really kind of take you in a time capsule to the period of the Roman Empire, where these slaves were not only devices to serve Caesar, but also were devices that were used to entertain Caesar whenever the games were fought in the Colosseum, where many slaves died at the hands of the lions. This is just an album that focuses on this theme with an absolute precision. It doesn't deviate, and it doesn't let up. And this is what makes this album very genuine and very pure. Now, whenever you hear words like genuine and pure, you tend to think of some little pale flower or some white shining armor, you know, armorous knight or something like that. But what this means is that this stays true to the theme that Max had in mind. It doesn't try to deviate. It doesn't try to take it in a myriad of different directions in order to try to maybe base some sort of humanity. Instead, it is focusing straightforward on what these individuals went through and the anger and the tribulations that they endured and had to experience as slaves. This is music that is reflected upon what slaves probably want to do because of their internal turmoil, the uprising that they want to kind of spur on, that they never have the opportunity to take part in because they are subservient to those who have all of the power, all of the armies, and all of the money. This is a great record. This is a release that could be perhaps one of the best Soulfly records of all time. One of the releases that perhaps not only will Max be the most proud of, but fans will also be the warmest to receive, considering it has a little bit of something for everybody. It still maintains the Soulfly trademarks. It still also is able to spruce in a little bit those elements of spirituality and tribal nature in music, although you'll have to purchase the deluxe edition to really kind of see that. Really kind of spelled right out for you. But it's also in there in the basic album as well. It's just something that's going to require a little bit more harder listening in order to kind of unearth these little ideals. And this is also an album that builds upon all of these years that they've been together, nearly 15 in fact, and adds little pieces and little driplets and droplets of other styles in, almost like a progressive death side, definitely a death metal side, and certainly a wave of brutality, a wave of mutilation that perhaps have never been seen before, even though those topics covered by Max and Soulfly have not necessarily been ones that are for the faint of heart. This is a fantastic release. This is one that I will recommend to you guys, Cover Killer Nation, that you have actually already recommended to me. So in reality, this is a two-part process. You've recommended that I review this album, and now that I've listened and reviewed it, I'm recommending it back to you. If perhaps you were wavering before purchase, this is an album to purchase. This is an 8.25 to an 8.5 out of 10. One that certainly is very fitting for your collection and deserves to be there. And I certainly would respectfully ask that you make it a part of your collection, because this is one that certainly deserves to sit in it. Until next time, Cover Killer Nation, you are not slaves to the Caesar that is the Cover Killer. No, instead you are equals. And that's the reason why our relationship will continue to blossom, as opposed to lead to revolution.